speaking on top of like skin tone and tanning and whatnot, what would be your recommendation like at like, because I know there's like Tan Pro, and then there's there's Pro Tan, or Tan Masters, or just there's so many different options out there. So like, what's your recommendations on that?
Yeah, so there are a few different companies that make tanning product. There's also, so if you're doing a muscle contest show and you go on the muscle contest website, you'll be able to book tanning and hair and makeup all on the muscle contest website using, I guess, what is muscle contest's official tanners. And so they're aligned with certain people. That's, mostly, that's, I guess, generally speaking, that's the safest option for anyone doing a show. If you're competing in New Zealand with the NZIFBB, go to the NZIFBB website and you will be able to book all of your tan through there, and that is, that's a really safe way to do it and make sure that your tan is, right. The danger if you're not using the official tanning company for that show is that, let's say you're doing a muscle contest show and you don't use Tan Masters, but you do your own DIY tan, or you use another random company, they may be using a different brand of tan, and so the colour could be slightly different. So then it's like you may not be exactly the same colour as everyone else. Obviously everyone has different skin tones anyway, but you wouldn't want to be like look totally different to everyone else, if you know what I mean. So in my opinion, it's a safe option to use whoever the official tanning company is, or if you have a brand of tanning product that works really well for you, there's always that option as well. Particularly with, Pro-Tan is my sponsor. I'm very lucky that I get spoiled with, tanning services from Pro-Tan whenever they're there. If I'm doing a show and there's no Pro-Tan there, I can actually use a DIY kit. So I did a show recently in California. It was my last show actually, and my boyfriend did my tan for me using the Pro-Tan products. So you can actually buy from Pro-Tan the whole kit that you need. And if anyone ever buys it and needs help with how many layers of this and that to use, hit me up. I can help you out. He actually did a perfect tan. It was his first time tanning me, and he now thinks he's an expert and may start working for Pro-Tan, so we'll see. But nice. It's actually pretty easy. The Pro-Tan DIY kit makes it super easy to do your own. So if you find that the Pro-Tan products work great on your skin, I would recommend, you can get those products and then you can always do your own tan and you'll never have anything to worry about. And you would always know, 2 base coats, 1 top coat, or whatever it is. So if you're using one of the companies that tans at your show, they'll usually schedule you in for your times and they'll tell you exactly when to show up. It can be, like, for the first few times, it's good to be cautious to learn how your skin absorbs the tan stuff. So my skin, considering I'm like blonde hair, blue eyes, my skin goes real dark real fast. So, and that's the same for me. If I'm out in the sun, I tan really easily as well. I just blessed with tannable skin. But what happened is when I first started competing, particularly when I first started competing as a pro, and I'm traveling around America doing all these different shows, and that was before I was actually sponsored by Pro-Tan and before I was using Pro-Tan religiously. Sometimes I'd go and they'd do a thick base coat and it was, and then they'd do a top coat and I'm way too dark. Or, you have to learn how many coats your body needs roughly. So I know now that I use the Pro-Tans, it's called Get Buff, it's an exfoliant that also balances your pH. So the week of my show, I'm scrubbing and I'm balancing the pH of my skin so it's prepped perfectly for my tan. And then I'm going to do, if I'm getting sprayed by a, Pro-Tan with a spray, I do basically 1 base coat or 2 very, very light base coats and then 1 top coat and I'm golden. Literally, golden. I didn't plan that. Jokes are like so good today. So, some people might need, I know people that need 2 or 3 base coats and 2 top coats. So that's like 2 to 3 times the colour I need for me to be the right colour. So it's just a matter of like learning what your skin needs, but obviously working with a coach who knows. So if I was looking at you, I'd say if you're going in right now to get tanned, you'd probably want to do, if you're using the DIY kit, you probably do like 2 full coats of the base, and the DIY kit is less like than the spray gun. Obviously, if you're being sprayed by someone, you're going to need less. If you're doing the DIY kit, you're painting it on, hand painting it on, so you can do it thin, and then you can add another coat and then add another coat to make sure you get like the right depth. Makes sense?
Totally.
Yeah, that's tanning. It's fun. It stinks. You stink, and it's like, yeah, get me showered already.
You get used to it after a while, though, don't you? It's kind of like that, like, and then everyone else smells like that too.
Oh, we all stink backstage at the shows.
Nice. Speaking of like stage day or just in general like your show day, what type of like nutrition would you recommend? Because it's kind of difficult because it's like you have the pre-judging in the morning and then you kind of have this gap in between waiting to be having call-outs, I guess, and then after call-outs it's finals. So it's like, what do you do? Like nerves are like all over the place. Like how do you cope with all of that? And then food, like do you give yourself some sugar every now and then? Like what do you do?
Show day, essentially, there's no right and wrong approach to it. It's a matter of working with your coach as to what your coach wants you to be eating to look your best. And, different coaches have different ways of doing things. And as a coach, I have different ways of doing things for different clients. It really depends completely on the person, It depends. I'm going to speak very generally and not get too, technical. As an example, for myself, if I'm getting ready for a show, I do a very kind of steep depletion of my carbs. So I deplete my muscles right down. I get really tight and tiny and dry, and then I carb load so it fills out my muscles, and that's a process that happens in the week leading up to the show, into the show day. On show day, sometimes you will be drinking water, sometimes you won't. Again, it depends on your body, your coach. Do you need to cut your water? Do you not? Some people do, some people don't. I personally cut my water, so on my show day, I'm only really sipping with meals or when I need to, but I'm mostly cutting my water and mostly eating carbs only, and carbs that are simple and easy to digest, because you got no water, it's hard to digest, and you also want your stomach to be tight and flat, so you don't want to eat something that's going to fill you up or bloat you. So it's very personal. What I would say the number one thing to make sure of is that you know from your coach exactly what to take with you. You've got a rough plan of your meals. Usually on show day, I'm actually going back and forth with my clients. They're sending me photos or videos, so I'm actually monitoring how they look the whole time. Similar to how I would do for myself when I'm doing a show. I'm always checking in the mirrors, checking how I'm looking, or taking videos to just check my condition. Do I need more carbs? Stuff like that. So the most important thing is to be prepared with everything you need. So let's say you're grazing on carbs all day and you're not drinking much water. Just make sure you've got extra, rice cakes or whatever it is that you're eating, so that's going to help with nerves. If you know that in your suitcase you've got your bikini, your food, everything you could possibly need, your resistance band to pump up a little bit, all of that stuff, make sure you've got it all there so that you never have to rush off anywhere or worry about someone bringing you more food or whatever it is. But in terms of the actual food itself, it's very particular. Sometimes I have clients who don't need much carbs at all. Sometimes I have clients who need a lot of carbs to fill out their muscles. You're going to need a lot, I already know, because of your body type. So yeah, there's no right and wrong. It's more case by case. But the most important thing is to be prepared with everything that you need, plus some extra, so that you can relax. Because if you are stressed on show day, that is when you won't look your best.